Business Now. Kate is still with us this week with the business news. Argentina coming one step closer to re-entering the global financial system.
Yeah, that's right. The Senate has now approved this somewhat controversial debt deal with a group of creditors, resolving a more than decade-long dispute that had pushed the country into default. Now, this was largely a symbolic vote because the lower house of parliament had already given the green light to this agreement. The new president, Mauricio Macri, had made breaking the deadlock with creditors a key priority in his efforts to revitalize the struggling economy. Diptyque Laurent reports.
After 13 hours of discussion, Argentina's Congress voted overwhelmingly to end their debt standoff. But for many senators, the decision came begrudgingly.
Today, there's neither a sense of victory nor anything to celebrate. But it's a step we must take with a complete sense of responsibility. Responsibility to look ahead, to close a chapter, to not look backwards, but rather with a leadership that wants to bet on the future.
The vote was the last hurdle after the House of Deputies approved it earlier in March. The president will now be able to issue $12.5 billion in bonds. Around $4.65 billion will be used to settle long-standing claims with U.S. hedge funds, and the rest will be used to carry out free market reforms. The dispute dates back to international loans given during Argentina's financial crisis of 2001-2002. While most creditors have since agreed to restructure that debt, a group of holdouts refused to settle and successfully sued the government for not paying out on bonds. The court ruling kept Argentina from accessing international credit markets unless it settled its debt. Former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner called the creditors vultures and refused to negotiate with them. But the country's center-right leader Mauricio Macri was elected in part on the promise of ending the country's financial isolation. The New Deal allows Argentina to re-enter global credit markets for the first time in 15 years.
Now here in France now, two telecommunication giants are hoping to merge, but they're not quite there yet, are they?
No, and Thursday was supposed to be the deadline day, the day that we were going to hear from Orange and Bouygues. We have now heard from them this Thursday morning, but they say that they're prolonging their discussions on a tie-up, that their discussions haven't yet advanced enough. This merger would see the former state monopoly Orange buy Bouygues' telecom unit for about 10 billion euros. Both boards have been meeting to discuss the terms of the deal. They're outlining potential roadblocks. Bouygues, in particular, has indicated it'll walk away from the talks unless it receives at least a 10% stake in that new firm. A merger would reduce the number of carriers in France from 4 to 3 and possibly start winding down the price war in the industry.
Markets on the programme. How's trading going, Kate?
Well, the European markets have just opened. We're in the early moments of trading here. We can take a look at those early figures. We've actually got quite a bit of a negative open there, as you can see there. The major indices all down about between 0.5 and 0.75% there. The CAC 40 with the strongest losses there for the moment. This is following in the footsteps of the Asian markets after a fairly light and mixed session. We actually saw the Asian markets closing mostly downwards there. We're seeing a lot more movement actually on the currency markets this Thursday. The dollar has hit a 6-week low against the euro overnight. This following a rather cautious statement from the Federal Reserve chief earlier this week about risks to the global economy. Let's move on to some of the day's other business headlines now. In Japan, the airbag maker Takata has seen its stocks recover from a nearly 20% drop on Wednesday. Shares up about 5% in Thursday's session. The company has denied reports that the global recall of its faulty airbags could cost as much as $24 billion. At least 10 people are known to have been killed around the world because of problems with the airbag inflator. Italian prosecutors have widened an anti-corruption probe to include Royal Dutch Shell. The investigation is linked to the 2011 purchase of an oil field in Nigeria by Shell and the Italian energy group Eni. Authorities say the $1.3 billion payment for that block may constitute a bribe. The Italian partner is already under investigation, and both companies have denied wrongdoing. And the Chipotle fast food chain is expanding from burritos to burgers. The company has filed an application in the U.S. to trademark the name Better Burger as it considers opening a new line of restaurants. Chipotle has seen sales at its Mexican grills plummet in recent months as it tries to recover from a food safety scare.
Now, finally, from Kate, the Brazilian football legend Pelé. He's suing Samsung Electronics, this is, over an advertisement.
Yeah, for quite a lot of money as well. Pelé is accusing Samsung of using a lookalike without his permission. Now, Samsung published an ad for high-definition TVs in the New York Times. As you can see there, it features an actor that does indeed bear a pretty striking resemblance to the former football star. And you can see the photo that's on that TV screen is also a different man performing one of Pelé's signature moves on the field. Now, the lawsuit alleges that Samsung ran that ad after breaking off endorsement negotiations back in 2013. Pelé claiming at least $30 million in damages. A court in Chicago will be hearing that case, Stuart.
30 million. Wonder if he'll get it. We'll find out. Thank you very much, Kate. Kate with Business here on